Hello, everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome you all to my Royce in the House YouTube channel. To my left is my good friend and co-host, Michael Nolan, the bottom line. Check him out, folks. He's got a great show, fastest growing show I've ever seen. He's very, very entertaining. Just below me is the one and only Chris Elliott, one of the most knowledgeable guys I know on all musical genres. I really enjoy working with Chris, and I really appreciate all his fantastic knowledge. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about Black Sabbath. And what we're going to be talking about is the fact, well, look at this. Look at this. Black Sabbath right there. Right there.
Okay.
We're going to be
Well,
talking
we're
about
all
Black Sabbath and the desire now. It took a while for this to happen, but they're all wanting to get together for a final goodbye to the fans. Okay, now one thing I want to ask you before I really get into it, because we're going to really get into it, please hit the thumbs up button. Like, it might say like, but it's a thumbs up button. You hit that, it lets the algorithm know that people are enjoying the show. We've got about 357 shows now. All of them are available on my channel at all times. But lets the algorithm know that people are enjoying the show. And then when people are searching for content on YouTube, we get a better opportunity for our show to be presented to them as one of several other things to watch. So anyway, it just helps the show grow. So thanks so much. Okay, let's get back to Black Sabbath. All right. All of the members finally Bill Ward, who wasn't with the Black Sabbath, final tour. He's the drummer. I will have to say one thing though. I have a friend, Tommy Clefettis, who's been drumming for whether it's Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne for about the last 10 or 12 years. And I will tell you what, I've mentioned this many times, but I'm going to put a picture up because you guys got to see this guy. I mean, he is just one absolutely amazing drummer. Tommy Clefettis. He is fantastic. To be honest with you, he reminds the way he attacks the drum set. He reminds me of John Bonham. And to tell you the truth, I've seen him probably 6 times live when my son-in-law used to put shows on at the local winery because they were old friends. They go way back to going to Prince concerts together and things like that, along with Eric Singer, the drummer from Kiss. But anyway, Tommy's like one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. I've met him multiple times when he showed up at my son-in-law and daughter's house. He's actually godfather to one of my grandchildren, my daughter's daughter. And I tell you what, do yourself a favor, Tommy Clefettis. He drums for Ozzy and Black Sabbath. And so he went on the tour, the Black Sabbath, that final tour, 2000, what was it, 17. He was drumming for them. So anyway, and he's been drumming for all of Ozzy's solo stuff. So, all right, well, I'll get this picture off of here right now. We'll get back to the showage. Let's see. All right. Well, sorry, folks. This will only take a second. Okay, good. Okay, so what's going on here? Okay, Ozzy hurt himself in 2003. He had a life-threatening ATV accident, which is a 3-wheel motorcycle, busted up his spine, his back. He had pins and rods and everything inserted. That same year, he developed Parkinson's disease. Okay, that wasn't affecting him nearly as much as the ATV accident. Okay, fast forward to about 2013. He went to use the restroom in his house, pitch black, didn't turn any lights on, walked back into his bedroom, somehow misjudged the bed, fell flat on his face, and knocked all of those pins and rods loose again and was taken back to the hospital. Afterwards, 3 or 4 very painful surgeries with very painful recovery times. I did a show 3 or 4 months ago. I think it was only like 3 months ago. We were talking about Ozzy's health. I talked about all of these things. Ozzy insists, I don't care if they have to will me out on a board. I'm going to play. I'm going to do a proper goodbye. I want to do a proper goodbye to my fans by doing a show for them. And so then his wife, Sharon, went to an interview and said, no, Ozzy's going to do 1 or 2 more shows. He's got to say goodbye to his fans. He doesn't feel like he got because of the injuries and not getting to tour and say goodbye and all this stuff, just having to cancel them and say no more. He wants to come back, and he wants so the big obstacle has been Bill Ward, the original drummer before Tommy Clefettis, my friend. And Bill Ward did not go on the Black Sabbath final, kind of end of the road tour, their final tour. He didn't go on that. And so anyway, what we're looking at now is Bill Ward just signed on. Bill Ward wants to do it. He doesn't want to talk about some health issues. He's getting up there in years now too. There are some health issues. He's not talking about them, but he wants to do that final show or shows. Now, my opinion is if it's difficult for some of the guys to do this show, they may just do one and feel like they got to say a proper goodbye to their fans. That's a really big thing to Ozzy. He said under any painful circumstance, he's going to do that unless he just can't even breathe. He's in so much pain. But it sounds like he must be getting better or he wouldn't be agreeing to do this. So my feeling is if the first one goes well, I don't see them stopping at one. Sharon always said two. Ozzy said a few, on the last show I did on him. And so we'll see what happens, but I'm kind of excited about it. What I want to show, first of all, is I have this reunion, this, 1997 Black Sabbath reunion. It says reunion down here at the bottom in Birmingham, England. This is live, and it's a 2 CD set. I had it in my truck for quite a while. I really enjoyed listening to this. So it's the Black Sabbath reunion 2 CD set. Okay. So they did that, and they were all there. Ozzy was there. Bill Ward was there. Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler, the bass player. They were all there for that reunion tour. So they want to do that one last time and make it a farewell to the fans, a proper goodbye, as Ozzy puts it. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm of a firm belief it's going to happen. It's not 100%. They haven't inked the deal yet, but they all want to do it, and that's a first, So, what do you guys have to say about that?
Well, first of all, there's a couple of things.
Yeah, here you go.
What about okay, they're all nicey nice now. And I agree, Royce. If Ozzy lives to be 90, he'll be swearing to God he'll do one more show. It's in him, he can't help himself. But they're all talking about this. This got reported in Forbes magazine. And yet the last thing we heard about Black Sabbath was they couldn't get Bill Ward because he could not get a contract from them signed. And as I recall, it had to do with ownership of the name because Ozzy and Tony owned the name. Gotcha. And Geezer sold his to I think Tony. I guess the same thing happened with Bill, but if he was going to come back, he wanted some sort of more fair restitution. He didn't like the fact, and this gets into, a lot of things that bother me about current tours and stuff is that, when a band becomes a corporation, when there's 4 of them, we're talking about all 4 of them getting back together. I think the corporation needs to go by the wayside. I think that they should just perform, set up a temporary Black Sabbath company just for this performance or set of performances, film it like Zeppelin did with Jason, so that because these will be most likely in the same club area that Black Sabbath formed when they changed their name from Earth to Black Sabbath. And they want it as close to their origin base as possible. So my first question, and maybe somebody in the peanut gallery knows the answer to it, is what about the points of contentions that have always been there up till now? Forbes didn't bring out any of this stuff in that article, and I'm wondering why. Is this a plant? Is this just a tickle in somebody's ear, or is this an actual possibility? I don't know.
Yeah, none of us really do. But
Yeah.
but
I
the
know.
good news was Bill Ward wasn't coming in, but now he is in.
Oh, he swore hell and high water that he'd never work with Ozzy again. Also, that was one of the reasons. I mean, not only Music Sanctuary had it
Yeah.
there. Sharon Osbourne kind of put the kibosh on it first time because she wouldn't give Ward equal pay, just like Music Sanctuary said there.
Right.
But
Right.
Right.
also, there was contention between them personally, from what I've read. And
Yeah, but I had
someone must have
last
screwed that
year.
over.
Evidently, that had been kind of kiboshed, right, Chris?
That's what I heard, but you never know now.
Yeah. Yeah, I had heard that there were apologies made from both camps and that they were at least on talking terms and good enough with each other. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the old bone of contention to begin with. Or is Bill willing to settle to be a higher on just to say goodbye? It's that important to him. Could be
Well,
that,
well,
you know?
yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah, yeah. That's really hard to say. I think I would make a settlement just to see just to do a proper goodbye. They all have plenty of money. It's
Right.
not going to change anybody's life. Hello, Angela, James Watson, Hitspace 80, music for
Hey,
all
everybody.
seasons. Yeah, great to see you all here.
When I
James is
saw
here.
them,
Oberheim. I am Hop Frog. Dave is here. I'll just throw it out there, Dave. If you're interested, we have a place on the panel for you. I know you're a big Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath fan.
Oh, yeah. Come on up, bro.
You would do us proud up here, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay, so
so
it's hard to say, but when I saw that Bill says, I don't know what kind of negotiations were taking place behind the scenes, Michael says it's exactly like you said. None of that was brought up, so we don't know. But they must have satisfied him for him to want to come up, because who doesn't want to do that final as the original band?
that's what it should be, though. It should be just a one-off and leave it. Because I saw them on the end tour, and they were great. But at some point, I still think they were almost upstaged by Rival Sons when I saw them. And not to speak ill about them. I mean,
No.
I got later on, if you allow me, I got a clip of the Detroit or the Palace of Auburn Hills singing "Happy Birthday" to Tony Iommi and his wife bringing the cake to the stage.
Cool.
Outstanding.
They'll put
Yeah.
that link in there right now.
If anybody wants to watch
Yeah.
a fun video, go back into my archived videos under the Rock and Roll Chronicles. That's the playlist. And you'll find a video that is Tony Iommi's stag night with his best man, John Bonham. And it's a short video, 8 or 10 minutes long, but they go out and they get, well, Tony doesn't. He's supposed to be getting married in the morning, but Bonham gets so drunk that he practically had to carry him back. His wife wouldn't let him in. They were banging on the gate. She goes, "I'm not letting you in. He's drunk. You got to let me in. We're getting married in the morning." "No, I'm not." So she finally lets him in. He leans him up against the heater and he goes, "Are you going to be okay?" And John Bonham looks up and goes like this, And he said at 6:30 the next morning, Bonham, tuxedo, corsage, looking like $1 million, showed up to his wedding to be the best man. But it's a really funny story how that whole thing played out.
You could write 2 books, 2 volumes just on Bonham and Moon,
Right.
the debaucheries of Bonham and Moon.
Yeah, Hit Space 80 is talking about my friend Tommy Clefettis. He is a fantastic drummer. He was actually on tour recently with his own band, and he was calling it Tommy's Rock Show. He'd made an album, and they were touring the album called Tommy's Rock Show. Anyway, so thanks, Hit Space and Dr. Rick. Hey, Michael. Hey, look at this.
Hey, Dr. Rick.
We've got all the world's a stage here. Steve, hey.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, you want to watch a fun, entertaining show. I mean, there are a few other than the ones you have here, but go see Steve at All the World's a Stage. The guy's a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy him. And we appreciate you being here, brother. Thanks a lot for showing up, supporting the show. And we've got Dave just came up.
Hi, Dave.
Below me. I am Hop Frog. Now, I know you're a big Zeppelin and Sabbath fan, right?
Oh yeah. More Sabbath than Zeppelin. Sorry to say.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I do really like Led Zeppelin, but Black Sabbath. Like I wrote in the chat,
Dave, I couldn't fault anybody for that. You know, as you know, Zeppelin out of the Unholy Trio is my favorite. Pink Floyd. What am I thinking? Then Deep Purple, then Black Sabbath. But Dave, Black Sabbath is one of my very favorite bands of all time. So, you know, if somebody says no, Black Sabbath rules, you can't argue with that.
No, you can't.
They kind of do, don't they?
Oh yeah, and like I wrote in the chat, if there wasn't Black Sabbath, I would have quit playing guitar after a month. It just
there you go.
I mean, I had a friend that showed me all the licks to Sweet Leaf, Iron Maiden, all the different riffs and stuff. It's just like,
that's
like,
great.
You know, like I said,
So-
I love Ozzy.
So you must learn to play guitar with everything tuned down a half step, bro. Right?
I still do. I still play either an E flat or D.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Jimmy. He's good too.
Cool.
But where's it at?
That's
and
way
then there's another Ozzy from like.
As a matter of fact, you know, that was part of Black Sabbath's sound, was the fact that Tony tuned down to give it a darker sound. Geezer was looking out outside of their their practice space, and there was a movie from the 50s playing in a theater across the street called Black Sabbath. They were called Earth up until that point, but it wasn't just changing the name, right. Because Geezer got this idea. We could do songs about, the things that scare people. It was intentional. They had it was like an epiphany from Geezer, and everybody was on board, you know?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of amazing when I had read that.
Yeah, I think of all the newer doom and metal and even punk bands that owe a great tribute to Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
for sound wise and just everything, just the whole aesthetic is just
they're I love that band. I saw them. I want to say 71, but it was probably 72 at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And we went to a lot of concerts out there and at other places, but it was just. I mean, the air, it was like the air was thick. That's how heavy the music was. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced before.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost, I don't know what I was on, but it was almost too much. It was almost too much, folks. And then a few years later, I'm married. I moved to California, met my wife, got married in 73. So 1975, the California Jam. California Jam 1 was at the Ontario Speedway.
Here he goes. He's going to make us all jealous again.
And we had Black Sabbath. We had the Eagles. We had, oh my God, we had Deep Purple. Linda Lovelace got out of a helicopter and said she'd like to get to know us all a little better. I'm not sure everybody remembers Linda Lovelace, but if you're my age, she was in a movie called Deep Throat. Anyway,
I thought by that time America as a whole had gotten to know her a whole lot better.
Yeah, but there was an amazing lineup there. It was just incredible. So that was my second time seeing Black Sabbath. So I haven't seen them since. I haven't seen them since 75. Oh, I regret that. I never got to see Led Zeppelin. I'm a huge Led Zeppelin fan.
Yeah, but you saw them in their prime, bro. You saw them.
I am going Friday night to see Robert Plant and Alison Krauss. Just 9 miles up the road at the Vina Robles Amphitheater. Same place 2 months ago. I saw John Bonham's Evening with Led Zeppelin, which was absolutely fantastic. And probably it's been a little over 2 years now. I saw Alice Cooper there. Great venue. No such thing as a bad seat. No such thing. I mean, it's small. It's just a little amphitheater at a winery. And I mean, you can be down and have good seats, and there'll be some open, and people are just up milling around with their friends, hanging out with wherever their friends are, because there's no bad seats.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. So it'll have been, in a couple of months. Jason Bonham. No, it's not his dad. It's not John Bonham, but Jason Bonham and Robert Plant, all within a couple of months. So I'm excited about that.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, I really think this is going to happen. You know, I think if Ozzy wasn't feeling better, he wouldn't be committing to it.
Yeah.
I want to say hi to Angela. How you doing, Angela?
Hello,
Also,
Angela.
want to say, Paul, Psychos Platters. Are you still out there? Because I'm going to put a link up here, brother. I know you're a Black Sabbath fan.
Oh yeah.
And we are looking for Black Sabbath fans.
Yeah, the first Black Sabbath album I think I heard went over to a friend's house and he's playing what I call the greatest hits, which is Paranoid. Has all their hit songs on it. And then after that, it caused me to do a little bit of a discovery and, listen to the original one. I did not know that Ozzy played a harmonica.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, until I discovered the first one. Yeah.
Hey, Adam, good to see you. And Caitlin, always good to see.
My first exposure to Sabbath was somebody had the We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll compilation.
Mm-hmm.
And just listening through that was my first introduction. And then the original album and then Paranoid.
Yeah.
Nice. Mine was, I heard the first album. Friends of mine had it in Santa Rosa. I was naughty, sent to North Carolina, bought Paranoid. And by the time I got back to California, I was ready for Led Zeppelin too. And totally became a fan of the one band that could give all three of these bands that we've talked about, the Unholy Trinity, right? Zeppelin, Purple, and Sabbath. How about freaking Uriah Heep?
Yeah.
Band. Yeah.
They were a little more fairies and ogres oriented.
That's okay.
But then again, so was kind of Led Zeppelin. So I think, I did one of my biggest videos ever. I just did a video on Uriah Heep. This was about 2 years ago. It got like 150,000 views on it. There's a lot of fans for that band. And of course, I collected Uriah Heep right along with Zeppelin, Sabbath, and Purple,
Same here. Back in the day, I had all that stuff. I'm just now, little by little, starting to buy a lot of that. I just bought 2 Grand Funk Railroad, bought a couple more James Gang. I'm just now starting to try to get back to collecting some of that older stuff that I enjoyed so much in my youth. But let me just take a minute here,
Royce.
I know. Let me take a minute here to say hi to a few people. Adam Finley, Eddie's Physical Media, my brother. Where you been?
Hello, Eddie.
I'm just messing with you. It's good, really good to see you here, friend. Frank James, good to see you, Frank. Adam Finley once again. Dear friend Angela, Frank James.
Oh, excuse me, Royce. I'll be right back. Mrs. Toad's calls. I'll be right back.
Caitlin, thank you. And like I said, appreciate you showing up. And I want to let everybody know, if you haven't been to Caitlin's Magical Corner, we go back a long ways. I've probably known Kate for 4 years. Went back to some old shows before either one of us had a show or even thought about having a show.
I love Caitlin.
I do too. I love Caitlin. Caitlin is great. And Psycho's Platter, I see you pop back up in the chat. I did put a link up for you if you'd like to join. Next Sunday, Loverboy, Sammy Hagar, and Mike Anthony. Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were talking about last week.
Yeah, no, that we were just talking about that show. And I did a show on that. I think 3 or 4 shows ago, I covered what they were doing, and I talked about it months and months ago because there was some competing interest. You had David Lee Roth and Alex Van Halen trying to put together a tribute tour to Eddie and the Van Halen band, and they were also trying to get Joe Satriani or Satch to play the guitar, who wound up going with Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony, the bass player, longtime bass player for Van Halen, and then later with Hagar, and Jason Bonham's with him. Yeah, exactly like what you're saying. That's going to be great, man. I wish I was going to see that. And that keyboard player is great too. So anyway,
yeah, he is. I have to admit, like I said in my review, he adds the sparkle because I felt there was a bit of murkiness to the live mix, but he does add a bit of sparkle to the presentation.
Hey,
my God,
Johnny.
it's Johnny Hill. We've been joined.
Holy shit!
We've been joined by music
This
royalty
is
here.
gonna be epic. This reunion concert. Oh my God!
Oh,
people
yeah.
people are gonna just freak out.
Oh,
like
God.
When Ozzy gets on stage and everything like that, people are gonna just go wild.
People are going to go completely nuts, aren't they?
Insane! Yeah.
Yeah, insane. Exactly.
So how you doing anyway, guys?
So we're doing good, man. It's really good to see you here.
It's good to see you, Johnny.
There's been several people pop in here tonight that I haven't seen in a little while. And I can't tell you, man, I am so appreciative to everybody who's popping in the chat right now. You know,
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, I love you guys, man. I've loved having you all on. I mean, Music for All 4 Seasons, Angela, Adam Finley, Frank, my good friend Jeff Davidson, who was my motivation for starting my show after he beat me in a vinyl competition. love you, brother. Music Sanctuary. Yeah, Frank James, Vinyl Gorilla Records, you know. I see you guys all over YouTube, man. It really makes me feel good to see you here.
Yep, I run into all these guys all over the place.
Steve, All the World's a Stage. You guys go check out Steve, All the World's a Stage. Great show.
How you pulling this off, Michael? Being invisible like that—that's pretty good.
It takes great concentration and lots of Mrs. Toad's cookies. Johnny. Hey, brother, by the way, I got your email. I answered you. The one you're talking about is on channel memberships.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not the same then, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason I would have put it out on both formats, but I can't get a video that length on Patreon, so that's why it went to members.
Okay, folks, directly beneath me, I have to introduce my friend Paul. He's got a fantastic show, Psychos Platters. I was there last night, and I was struggling to try to get on, and I was having all kinds of problems. I have a virus somewhere, and I've got to get through to all my programs, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, all of them in a roundabout way instead of just clicking on the link I always clicked on, and it was driving me crazy last night. In fact, my wife was yelling at me today because she thought it was all my fault. But anyway, go ahead, Johnny.
Something odd is going on in the computer thing because my wife was having a little bit of an issue too and stuff like that. So it's a lot of stuff going on there.
There's something going on. Yeah. It was really yesterday. Yesterday, it really hit a head. I didn't know. I was wondering if this was going to work tonight for me. The way things were going, I was really bummed out about it. Yeah, Eddie's Physical Media Talk. Hello, Dave. Yeah, good to see so many. Good to see so many friends here. So, Johnny, now are you a Led Zeppelin? Led Zeppelin. I don't even know what my show's about. Are you a Black Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne fan?
Yes, I had an album.
Okay,
I can't remember which one it was. It had Sweet Leaf on it and all that many years ago when I was a teenager.
Number 4.
Master Reality. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's wrong. It was Master Reality. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that one. And and we went to a party, and I don't know, for some reason it disappeared, so I don't have it anymore. But I do like a lot of the songs. Yes.
Wow.
Coming from a doo-wop guy and everything.
For years, that album was my favorite. The way I looked at Black Sabbath is, for me, we were talking about this. So anybody on the panel, for me, Black Sabbath was the 4 of them. You know, me, Black Sabbath is Black Sabbath to Technical Ecstasy. For the most part, that's their inner discography. That's my Black Sabbath. The other forms of Black Sabbath, I have much lesser interest in. But the way I look at their discography is you've got their first 2 albums where, and that second album kind of sparks into where they would go, by the way. Yeah. But much like 3 for Led Zeppelin did. That was important. And what they did is they were still barbed wire sounding with those first 2 albums. And then all of a sudden, this slick, and they had more time in the studio to record it, right? They had much better, they were, was it Geezer or Tony that said, they were offered suitcases of money for drugs specifically. So they were getting into cocaine, and like any kind of drug, there's a honeymoon period, and it can create a creative spark. And I think when Reality came out, that's when we got their first, like, this is us as a professional band. And everything past that is like what I call the slicker albums, you know. And I think they culminated with Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. But the other 2 albums, Sabotage and Technical Ecstasy, are not what critics are saying these days. You know, critics who are in their 20s, 30s, and even 40s who weren't there, right? And now they listen back to these albums, and then you read their reviews, and you get reviews that say something like this. The album is still the 4 members showing, although not showing progress, any more progress as they've done in the past. They are showing that they are still solid, but you can see the cracks in the music happening. And they're writing their entire review on the Black Sabbath story, okay? Because the original critics, they gave those albums a much better review, and on top of that, they not only gave it a better review, but they weren't questioning where the band was, because they didn't know, right? And so something should remain fixed in time. Otherwise, what do we get? We get a rewriting of history every time, and I'm against that.
Well, you know, Michael, picking up on what you were saying about the original band, you know, for the longest time, it's only been recently that I've started to hedge on this a little bit. I always said that Ozzy Osbourne is the voice of Black Sabbath, the only person I care to hear singing Black Sabbath, and he will always be the voice of Black Sabbath. Now, recently I started paying a little bit more attention to Ronnie James Dio, who's technically and lyrically a great artist. And, you know, Michael, it wasn't just Ronnie James Dio that did a few albums, left and then came back. Well, when he left, who was it? Ian Gilliam, Deep Purple, was taking a break from Deep Purple.
That album was the winner.
He came.
That's my least favorite album, Born Again.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, is it the album or is it the actual?
You know,
I'm sorry. I brought that up.
Back, you evil demon. No, and that's interesting because I love Tony Iommi. And I'm open to other vocalists. Dio just didn't catch me. And you're right. He was a better singer. If you're going to talk about what is technically a better vocalist. But see, I've never claimed that Ozzy Osbourne was ever one of rock's best vocalists. He's not. But he is the greatest vocalist for Black Sabbath. His voice fits, people. It just fits.
When they went to Iommi and Ozzy went to school together. In fact, all of them did. And Iommi absolutely couldn't stand Ozzy. He thought he was a total freak. You know?
Didn't he bully him? I thought he beat him up or something in school.
He'd walk around dressed so strangely with things hanging from him and stuff like that. It was just such an oddball.
Well, he was such an oddball, but he was smart because later he'd put up this poster saying Ozzy Zig in search of gigs has his own PA. You know, and we've talked about that in the past, Royce. Whoever owns the PA, you know, has control of the band.
Has control, right.
Yeah. You know what, Michael? You're right. Ozzy, the voices, it's unique, but it's unique. It's unique to the Black Sabbath. Plus, he has this persona, this evil kind of look when he, it's just something about him that really fits with the Black Sabbath.
Well, that's, Johnny, you're bringing up a really good point, and I'll tell you that's why. And all due respect to Royce, who more faithfully followed Ozzy's career. I didn't follow Ozzy's career either any more than I followed the reinvention of Black Sabbath either. And the main reason is he was menacing with Black Sabbath. He had that persona, but when he became Ozzy and Ozfest and all of that, it was almost like he was a clown version of what we had known in our youth. And that kind of always bugged me a little bit,
Well,
just a little bit.
What I said a minute ago about Ronnie James Dio and Gilliam, they're both great singers, but Ozzy's still the voice of Black Sabbath for me.
Yeah, he always will be.
I have one album I ordered new when I was trying to catch up my Ozzy my Ozzy collection and Black Sabbath collections. I ordered it along with a couple of other albums, and it came in, and I could have sworn it was Ozzy, and I wound up with James Dio, and I never would have bought it had I known that. I just got it confused. In fact, I want to show. Go ahead.
Here's an example: the Rolling Stones. Take Mick Jagger out of the picture. It's not really the Stones without Mick Jagger too. Mick Jagger made the Stones, right?
It would almost be. It would almost
the same, right?
It would almost be unwatchable to me. Right.
You can replace Mick Jagger with another frontman, but it's not going to be
Adam Lambert. Yeah.
Well, Johnny is bringing up a very good point here. There are some bands that you have to have the members for, and to say that it's okay to have Ronnie James Dio take over for Black Sabbath in my head is a little sacrilegious, especially because of what careful how you say that, Michael, but especially after the catalog and what they were and what they represented to us before. I just always felt like I couldn't quite make that crossover because Ozzy was that important. It denigrates Black Sabbath to say that any one of the original four can be replaced, and that's not right. Black Sabbath is too important, right?
Too important.
Yeah.
Same, just like a Led Zeppelin. Okay, hey, everybody, I want everyone to say hello to Buckle Bunny, who's saying greetings from Colorado. Hi,
hello, Buckle Bunny from Colorado.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you come back.
I love the handle.
Yes.
I love the handle.
Okay, so anyway, let me show this, guys. I gotta get some of these albums.
Oh,
off my
Mob
desk.
Rules. Yeah.
This is no. This is the Black Sabbath self-titled. Self-titled 50th anniversary of their very first album, 50th anniversary. So I thought I'd show that. Now, okay, there's a little story to go with this one, Black Sabbath Paranoid. We have a little record shop downtown here called Traffic Way Records. It's Traffic Way. It's on Traffic Way, but it's a very decent record store. They have a lot of stuff. It's where I finally found my Exile on Main Street Stones album. I've been looking for an OG of that since I saw the show in 1972 at the Long Beach Arena in Long Beach with all my friends from Vegas and my future wife. But anyway, so I pulled up in front of it. COVID was going on, and
did Betty know about her?
And I went up and I banged on the door, and the guy goes, "No, you got to have an appointment. We just have one person in at a time because of the pandemic." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" And he reaches over to the plate, the show window, and he grabs this. It's an original pressing of Paranoid. He goes, "Here, this is an original pressing of Paranoid. Just give me $35 and take this, okay?" Because I was pissed off because he wasn't letting me in, right?
Yeah.
It was just the two of us, damn it. And so I said, okay, and I took it. The gravity of what I had didn't really hit me at the moment that I did that. I also have the anniversary edition of this as well.
Sabbath is the my next vinyl Excursion. I have one more Zeppelin album to get, and anything else I can get on Zeppelin. It doesn't matter. They're the one band I'll get, recordings, bootlegs, anything. I'm interested in that.
Anything.
But my next set to go after is Sabbath, and I'll start with the very first one. I want that first one. I want to hear the Devil's Interval, please.
Hey, no, that'll be awesome. Hey, you know what? We haven't heard yet. Paul, I know you've got a Black Sabbath story in you or two. We're gonna turn the mic over to you for a minute and let you talk a little Black Sabbath to our heads.
All right. Well, let's see here. As far as I'm going to be 57 next month. Okay, I was a little late to the game on Sabbath. Okay, I would say probably the first brand new album that I bought from them. My memory isn't so good. It's either Never Say Die or Heaven and Hell. Now, I agree with you, Michael, on your assessment on about Dio. But the thing is, I think that what made me a little more easier to take is because I loved Rainbow. And so it's like, I was already familiar with the vocals. Heaven and Hell is a hell of an album. I like that one better than Mob Rules, but still. So, but that's
I can see that, Paul. That makes, coming from that direction, I just gave it from my direction.
Sure.
Being a few years older than you, young man.
That makes sense. That makes sense coming from that. Yeah. Because we were brought up. I was brought up with the Aussie Black Sabbath.
Well, yeah.
I'm 67, so I was brought up with that, right?
And
so
then
it makes sense, right?
Right. And I remember I used to always read Cream, Hit Parader, Kerrang. Our library was a cool library in high school.
Yeah.
And I remember a reading in Hit Parader, and it was like, what? Ian Gillan's going to join Sabbath? And I'm sitting here, and I'm like, I told my buddies, I'm like, look at this. And we're passing around. He goes, they're all like, I don't know, man. That's fucked up. I said, maybe. I don't know. I'm used to Deep Purple. Because I didn't know much about his solo career. Okay, I really didn't at that time frame. So when MTV put out Trashed, which I think still off of that album, that's my favorite damn song. Zero the Hero is good too. If the production, I hate to say this back then, because I did have it on vinyl with that god-awful cover. I remember my parents were like, what's that? Nothing. Don't worry about it. And so, and the production on it, I know, was so muddy. It was ridiculous. But now to me, I'm so used to it. But I still want to hear a remix or remaster or whatever to see what they could do with it. And as far as for, we won't even talk about the near concert experiences of getting to see Ozfest with Sabbath for those couple times. I was so rooting for an album all those years, brand new, right? You get that, what was it called? Reunion, where it looks like it's the Last Supper, and we get those two tracks, right? And I'm like, oh yes. And then what was it? A couple of years later? Yeah. A couple of years later, we get Scary. What was it called? Scary. They only did it in concert for like 1, 2, or Scary Dreams. I think it was called Scary Dreams. They never did a studio recording, to my knowledge. And so I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, I always wanted the original 4 to come back. When Bill was there at that press launch for for getting back together, and they were going to start setting up for 13, and I'm like, great, this is going to be a kick-ass album. Then the next thing you know, I'm like, what do you mean Bill's gone? What the hell nonsense is this? And of course, we didn't know right away. But then after I found out, I'm like, oh, Sharon, you stupid little. But so hopefully, like I said, this all comes back for that one gig and recorded and everything else. That's all there is to it. I'll tell you this much. I am probably the most ignorant in the Tony Martin era. I mean, the only stuff I remember is whatever the MTV Headbanger Ball videos were, like off of Headless Cross and Tear. But I will tell you, I guess
Headbangers Ball. I used to like that show, Headbangers Ball.
Oh, I loved it. So
I did too.
you guys, this is an exclusive, okay? As soon as I can find a damn copy of this, would anybody like to take a guess in what Sabbath album that I'm going to be doing an episode of Jukebox from Hell from?
What Sabbath album? Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
No, not Ozzy era.
Oh, okay.
Dehumanizer?
Heaven and Hell?
Dehumanizer.
Forbidden.
Forbidden.
Why do you why is it when I understand when bands want to push the envelope and they try to put what's his name from Body Count is on that album. And I'm going, oh no. And the only cool thing about that album, to my knowledge anyway, is that you get that little secret co-write from Eddie Van Halen. It's for one track. That's about the only coolest thing out of that whole album, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, you're talking 95. The cover even looks god awful. It's like a high school project could have slapped it together. And I'm going, and I almost missed the thing when it came out. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like, I'm not getting this. Yeah, so if you can make this ball, that's about all I have for this one.
Okay, so I want to say hi real quick to Henry and Piccolina the cat. Thank you both for being here. And you know what? I got a lot of people here. It's not always easy to get these thank yous in time, in a timely manner, I should say. So anyway,
you know, Royce, since we have several generations on the panel of Sabbath fans, which is wonderful,
absolutely,
I'd be interested in knowing what each panelist, what is their favorite Black Sabbath album, irregardless of any era, just your very favorite Black Sabbath album.
Yeah. Put the name of your favorite album up there in the chat, and we'll show them all. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Michael.
Well, I'd like to know the fellow panelists. Yeah,
why don't we go? Yeah, around the horn. Well, I'll come back to Paranoid. Okay, I love this album.
Yeah.
All right. Who's going next?
First album I ever bought from them.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Paranoid.
Myself, I'd have to go with probably a tie between the first two albums, Paranoid and Black Sabbath. I think I listened to them. Okay. Although overall, my favorite is probably still We Sold Our Souls from Rock and Roll, because that's what the first album that got me into it, even though it's a compilation.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Anybody else?
You know, go ahead. Let's get through.
I just listened to that earlier.
Yeah.
Sabbath 4.
I think the one as I'm getting old, my memory is kind of failing me for some reason. But the first album, the one with the Sweet Leaf and all that music.
Masters of Reality.
Yeah, that's their third album.
Yeah. My favorite. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. All good ones. All good.
Yeah,
ones.
for years that was mine too. For me, it's like it's almost like their Abbey Road, and that's Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. You've got everything. You got the sparkle. You've got a bit of barbed wire. You've got them just at their highest level, and they're all into doing it still. You know, Ozzy still wanted to do it. And it's the best damn album cover they ever did, as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, David, we're heading your way, but I have to say, I've left your comment up for a while. I love the way you put this. Dio was great, but not a great fit for Sabbath. Saying Dio is Sabbath is like saying Coverdale Page is as good as Led Zeppelin. Coverdale is great, but I love that. Anyway, so what is your Sabbath album?
Oh, I just showed it. Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay, number 4.
I heard his voice.
Yeah.
And boy, you know what? When you get to Reality 4 and Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, that's a tough mix to choose from too.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, Stick of the Devil. That's the next album I'm going to show is Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. If I can get it out of the ring light glare, since I left the.
What an album cover! Yeah,
no, that's a great one. That's a great one. Yeah,
with little bits from Rick Wakeman, too.
Yeah.
Let me
Yep,
sneak
good point, Paul.
let me sneak this one up as well here.
Oh,
Sabotage.
That's a pretty underrated album of theirs. I think it's pretty good.
It's a great one.
I think it's a good one too.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about before. Is there was a time when it got pretty decent reviews, and most people were happy. Nobody knew Sabbath was having problems at that time. The main problem they had was a lack of interest by Ozzy, who was contemplating a solo career, but nobody questioned it. And I thought Technical Ecstasy was even a little better, you know. But there was a slight dip in those albums, but they weren't the horrible albums that the new critics are trying to paint them to be. Like, oh, you can tell by listening that they were on their way out. Yeah. Well, how many pages in Wikipedia did you read before you even did your review, young man? You know,
right.
Because some of us don't remember it that way, and some of us remember the reviews we read from Rolling Stone, despite the fact that Lester Bangs, who was probably the greatest rock critic of our generation, couldn't stand them, didn't like them very much. You know,
yeah. You know, guys, this
Lester has been known to be wrong too.
You look at Henry's comment. This is what I absolutely love about our chat and all the people in it. You know, they're just the comments are just so good.
I forgot about Disturbing.
Yeah, really smart people out there. You know. And anyway, let's see. So, well, I'll tell you what. Here it is, folks. Here's the Mistake album. I'm not complaining. This is the Ronnie. This is the Mistake album. I ordered it, thinking it was Ozzy. Thinking it was Ozzy, and it's Ronnie James Dio. No, I'm not. You know, I'm not complaining. You know what I'm saying? You gotta take a look at everything. I guess. You know.
Yeah, it's still a good album.
I've bought worse albums, trust me. But again, it was a mistake that I thought I was buying Ozzy. Okay.
Wow.
So that's
you know, sometimes my curiosity probably damns me, okay? But I don't know if you guys know about this bit. So after Technical Ecstasy, Ozzy gets fired, right? Before, so in that sandwich. So what a strange choice to drag in Dave Walker from Savoy Brown and Fleetwood Mac to come in here to do this. So I'm told, this is where my curiosity is probably going to kill me. A half an album supposedly was recorded with Dave. And the closest thing on YouTube, guys, that you can see, because I've seen it, they end up on a British television show and they do Junior's Eyes. That version. And when Ozzy came back for Never Say Die, he's like, fuck this. I'm not doing Dave Walker's lyrics. I'm going to do my own. So that's why it's all still sitting in the vault, supposedly.
That's a great story, brother.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it.
And one thing about Sabbath, to go back to the Dio years, they were probably going to do another album and tour, except when Ozzy was doing one of his tours, they asked Sabbath to come on as a special guest. And Dio said, why in the hell would you guys ever cater to him? He's below you guys now. Right. And they said, well, we're going to do it. And Dio said, well, fuck that. I'm out. I'm not doing that. And that's when otherwise they probably would have kept going. But he refused to just play under the bill, like under Ozzy Osbourne on the bill. He would not do that.
Right.
And you know what? I have a bootleg somewhere on CD about Rob Halford sitting in about what you're talking about. He does a hell of a job. I was like, wow, you know, amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's good stuff right there. We got Jeff Davidson. The new box set of the albums with Tony Martin is fantastic.
See, I gotta get that.
Yeah. How many albums is in that? Does anybody know?
I think it's 4 or 5. I could be
4 or 5. Okay. Born Again is best when taken as a one-off album and not so much Deep Purple or Sabbath. Okay. Well, thanks.
Well, and Chris brings up a great point here because it wasn't supposed to be a Black Sabbath album. It wasn't recorded as a Black Sabbath album. Nobody ever talked about it being a Black Sabbath album until they, had it mastered and it was ready to go. And the record company told them it's a Black Sabbath album. They had
Yeah, it
no
was
choice.
originally a Tony Iommi solo album. But
That's right. That's right.
And Angela, thank you. Everybody, please hit the thumbs up or like button. Let that
Yes.
algorithm know they need to be presenting my show to people searching for content. Thank you.
I do have something here that very few people have, if any. And that's this.
Few, if any. Wow.
This was only available at the concert itself.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
You're kidding. You're
That
kidding
is
me.
cool.
And it's
Wow.
all live stuff.
What a
Oh, my
collectible.
God.
Live
yeah.
stuff from
That's
Australia.
a
New
nice little
Zealand.
piece.
Yeah, and you could only get it on the tour. That was the only where
Right.
it was available.
Right. Wow. That's amazing.
I think it was one of the early shows, before, like one of the warm-up shows, perhaps. And they recorded it, and then they made it available as the tour went out.
Wow.
nice. Very
Amazing.
nice.
Amazing.
Yeah. I guess they don't sell those anymore anywhere, do they?
No, that's pretty much a collector's. For
Oh,
sure.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Well, I put it in my CD player once to listen to it once when I first got it, and then I put it in my computer. I ripped it to my computer, and I haven't touched it since.
Okay,
Right,
folks.
right.
Okay, folks. We're getting
That's what
some,
I used to do.
we're getting some votes here. Look at the Music Sanctuary says Paranoid. Let's see. Henry says Sabotage. Okay. Frank James says Sabotage. Wow. Henry says Sabotage, Paranoid Tie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at this. This is funny. James Watson. Physical graffiti.
Yeah, that's about my favorite Sabbath album too.
Okay.
No
Paranoid.
dissing Black Sabbath. Like I said earlier in the stream, they are one of my major bands in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love this comment. Paranoid was a Christmas present from my oldest brother, so my first album as well.
Oh wow! Now that's a gift.
Cool.
Dr. Rick's torn between the first album and Paranoid. Well, that's a good
That
place
first
to be.
album is
I think
so
a lot
good.
of us feel that way.
Yeah, and both those albums are so good. As soon as I say that first album, then you got to talk about Paranoid. I mean, Planet Caravan. It pointed to the future for them. And it was the first direction that they weren't going to be just all barbed wire. Although there's plenty of barbed wire left on Paranoid.
Right.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay, so this one's for let's see. No, I take that back. I'm going to show this one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make it a little bigger.
That'll make Johnny happy. There you go.
Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. Okay. Yeah, this
Nice.
is
I
a
like
good
that.
album. Yeah, this is a good album.
Cover.
180 gram vinyl.
When I first
might as
met
well-
you, I didn't realize.
This was brought up.
sorry.
This was brought up earlier. Not a fan favorite here. Technical Ecstasy. It sounds like.
Still better than what's the other one? The one right after that.
Oh God.
Somebody mentioned it earlier.
I remember hearing Swinging the Chain off that album, and I'm like, wait a minute, who the hell is this? And I'm like, Bill, I didn't even know he could sing.
Yeah, what's the one with they've got aviator masks?
Never Say Die. I just remember.
Never Say Die. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
I was just talking about that one. Yeah.
my friend loved that album. Man, he was every time I was over at his house. I mean, and I just had the bloom was kind of off the rose by then, But I haven't listened to it since those days. So,
well, Jeff
what do you
Davis,
think, Chris? Is that a good album, or you obviously
I'm
not
not familiar with it. I don't listen to it much. I mean,
Okay.
right?
the song I think "Dirty Women" on there is probably the most popular song. I think.
Yeah, I thought the album cover was quite interesting. It was a cover that demanded better music. Maybe I don't know.
Well, that was
Jeff
their,
Davidson likes
It was
Final.
better than Sabotage. I'll tell you, when I saw the cover of Sabotage, I went, "What a lame ass cover!" God, what'd they do? You know, I mean, that must have taken all of 5 minutes to photograph and paint up and put together, and you know,
Right,
I
right.
Well,
hated that cover.
it's one of those covers that almost turns you off to the band. Like if,
Yeah,
like, I don't know if it was you, Michael, one of your videos or not, but somebody was talking about how if you look at a cover of an album or whatever, it can somewhat set the tone to what you're thinking you're going to hear.
right,
That album, it just
right.
looked like they were just clowning around. It was hard to take it serious just by the cover.
Right. That sounds like something I would say. It's probably in several of my videos. I love the whole experience of an album being tied to the artwork. It becomes part, you know me, Royce, I've bored everybody, but we're talking about master artworks here, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
No worries. No.
and the cover art and the accompanying artwork and lyrics was all part of the package. You know, these should be encased in, you know, porcelain frames in a museum. You know, I promise I won't say the Louvre, but no, yeah, to me they're masterworks of art, and you know, boy, Sabotage is not a masterwork of art as far as the cover goes. You know, you know, when I talk about, for example, their first album to me is a wonderful cover. It says it all.
Totally
It says
is.
it all. You can. I listened to that album a whole lot too, Chris. By the way, a whole lot, especially the last couple of years. And I'm going to tell you, every time you listen to that album, you look at that photograph, and you let your mind go, you can recreate a new NBC Sunday night mystery movie horror show of the week, and just rewrite it. There is so much drama in that first album. It's almost a concept album that they didn't mean for it to be. They were just writing scary songs, right? But it comes off that way, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And it has a grandness.
All those songs they were touring before they recorded that album, because when they didn't have per se any new songs so they just recorded what they were touring with.
Right.
So,
well, you know, this comment here from Jersey Devil is really cool. You know, I hadn't heard this before. Rob Halford also filled in for Ozzy with Sabbath at the Camden, New Jersey Ozfest. I never heard that before in 2004, and I was there. That's totally cool. Totally cool. Thanks for sharing that.
And you know, it's there's been a lot of silence as to whether Ozzy would perform at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? I mean, isn't it traditional? And yet nothing has come out about that, and yet we're talking about a possible last few reunion shows. So what do that's my only bugaboo about the whole story is it's suspect, especially how vague it was coming from such a well-respected rag, but Forbes, right? Yeah,
Right,
I mean, Forbes carries a lot of weight. And if they put this little blurb out there that, you know, that this quite possibly could happen,
we have a show.
They're not. Well, they're either choosing not to report what they know, or this is a purposeful leak to pique interest in a future project or something like that. Because we still haven't heard how they're going to get Bill Ward to forget the fact that he was pissed at not being given a ownership contract for that last tour. All right, because you know ownership was sold off by him and Geezer Butler. So that's my only. I'm wondering where are we going to go I mean, how are they going to, where are we going to go? How are they going to get past those bugaboos? They're not reporting it. We get these vague reports a year ago that they were all kind of snuggly duggly do with each other after apologizing to each other. But, money's money, right?
Right. Right. Totally.
Bill Ward has, he has an ego like anybody else. And he was 1/4 of the freaking band. That's why I said earlier, Royce, that I think what they should do is draw up a temporary company called Black Sabbath Says Goodbye. Call it whatever you want. Draw up a new temporary contract, and all four get equal membership as long as that company, and it has an expiration date. And then they all get their cookies and get to go to sleep with a nice glass of milk, right? What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Sounds good.
Nothing. I agree completely. You got the guys are all very, very old. They were through. I mean, Black Sabbath was through touring. Ozzy's upset because he's had to cancel the tours for his last 2 years because of his neck and back injuries. So everybody, and Bill Ward wasn't with them at their last tour. Black Sabbath. He didn't want to play. So anyway,
Ozzy said in that article,
get them all together. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Ozzy said in that article that he said, "I love the drummer." I forget the name of the drummer. You were giving him a big kudo.
Tommy Clefettis. Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah.
He says he's a fantastic drummer, but I'm sorry, he's not Bill Ward. So no, I'm not happy with that last concert at all.
And I don't think it was so much a technical statement as it was Bill Ward. They all go back to being teenagers playing together,
Right.
And Bill Ward's like a real brother,
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know if Bill Ward could actually be honest with you, touch Tommy Clefettis, to be honest with you. I think he's probably the most underrated drummer out there right now.
Oh, there's no way Bill, I mean, he's already suffered a heart attack. He's mysterious about his health problems, but he's open enough. In that article, he talked about them, but he says, I don't want to go into them, but I have did he say it was 71 or was it 76?
He's got to be older than that. More like 76 is my guess.
Yeah. Bill Ward. But he said
76, so he's got to be there too.
Okay, and he says, but I still live a full musical life. And then there was always I covered a few of the rumors last year on my channel that they might possibly do one more album, right? Because Bill Ward has said, I could drum in the studio, I just can't get out there and tour. So. It's all up in the air, really. A lot of things aren't being talked about with this article, and yet
you mentioned that Bill Ward. You mentioned Bill Ward couldn't touch that other drummer you were talking about. What's the age difference between both of them?
Well, I would say Clefettis is maybe 45.
Wow.
Yeah,
with 30 years.
Oh, I mean, come on. I bet you if you lowered Bill Ward's age to his age, I bet you Bill Ward would beat the hell out of him in the drums.
I never thought of Bill Ward as one of rock's greatest drummers, but he Ozzy. Like Ozzy. See,
age,
that's the thing. All of them are very competent musicians, but I wouldn't say they're the greatest guitarist, the greatest bass player, maybe not even in the top 10 for me in any of those areas. But Black Sabbath, the original Black Sabbath, the sum was greater than the parts.
That's exactly how I was going to put it. That's exactly
and so
right.
When they played together and they created new music, they were gods. They were the best people for that job. You don't need the best. You don't need Jimi Hendrix on guitar.
I mean, sometimes it's just a magic between a group of guys. You
need a riff master in this case. Right. Which, see, people don't give Tony Iommi his due. Where he may not be like I said, he's in my top 20, but he's not in my top 10. But if I did just a list of riff masters, people who could just come up with riffs that just drove the song,
then he's
got to be in the top 3. No,
Maybe
he's got to be in the top 3.
Okay.
So,
I'll
there was his genius, right? That was his genius. They said Bill Ward would play around with the totality of the sound to create. And they cited, they knew he was special as far as his direction for what they wanted when they put Planet Caravan together. All right. So, and Ozzy, we talked about, he's got the perfect voice for the band. Is he the greatest singer on planet Earth? No. And Geezer Butler, like Led Zeppelin, he's the utility player, like John Paul Jones was for Led Zeppelin. He's the lyricist. He's the bass player, right? I mean, he's the one that came up with the concept. He's the one that, so he's kind of almost the soul, where Tony was the boss, the drive, the brain.
You're talking about Geezer Butler, right?
Geezer Butler.
Yeah.
Yes. So they all are greater than their individual parts.
Tony was the leader, and he was kind of a badass too,
Oh, yeah. And especially when you consider his handicap, which we haven't even brought up tonight. He had an accident, tips of his fingers were cut off. He had to make plastic finger coverings for them himself, and had to relearn to play guitar.
And he came up with a new style of guitar, the power chords and everything.
And it affected their sound too. So, like I said, the right man for the job.
It affected everybody's sound that followed.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those 4 are the ones that put the feeling in the groove of every song they touched. That's why we love them so much.
That's why we love them so much, Paul. Well placed. Well put.
Yes. I mean. No, well said. I agree wholeheartedly on that.
Tony Iommi is the riff master, Henry says. You are absolutely right. I mean, name another one. All kinds of people have all kinds of technical skills, but when it comes to the riff master, my vote goes to Tony Iommi every time.
And in a whole other way, Keith Richards is a bit of a riff master, right?
Oh, yeah.
Key guitar parts that identify the song as much as the melody and the lead vocals. I mean, his whole approach in his own more basic way. He's a riff master.
Honky Tonk Woman. I mean, so many songs.
There you go.
You hear the opening strum of the guitar. You know the song.
You know exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
just like Satisfaction,
Michael,
Jack Flash.
Were you with me when we did that show about how quickly Dan McNew and I recorded a whole bunch of like 1 note to 2 note songs, and they were like instantly recognizable. We were taking turns playing them, and people were just 1 or 2 notes.
No, I wasn't on that show, Royce.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, I was in the gallery that night. Yeah,
isn't that amazing? That's a sign. That's a sign about a guitar god when you can plays 1 note and everybody knows what that song's going to be. That's friggin' amazing. I think. Right.
I know.
Well, if that's true, if that's true, John Lennon is a rock guitar god. How about that feedback at the beginning?
Right.
Okay. 1 note. You know that song the second you hear that feedback.
Right.
You know.
Okay. Last but not least, this was the last one I could find. It probably is the last one. Now I have this many or more just Ozzy solo, and I love Ozzy solo too.
Now, Dave, this is the one with Snowblind, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. This was. Oh God, I love this album when it came out. Just for Snowblind alone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good one.
Here's how innocent I was, and I wasn't very innocent. But when I heard Snowblind, I just thought it was a warrior wrapped up in a helm and his sword, the hilt, and in a snowstorm. Yeah, I didn't know it was about cocaine, man. I had no idea.
Yeah, the big band on my high school campus, they named themselves Snowblind after that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite cut on that album, and it's full, chock full. Like I said, if you choose that, Dave, I can't fault you for choosing that album. If you said, Michael, this is the Black Sabbath album you will take to the desert island with you, I go, okay. Cool.
It's so hard to pick because after I said it, I go, well,
and the
I
can
like
of
the
gas.
first one, I like this one, I like that one. It's like it's like, who's your favorite child? It's like
right.
Well, right now they're behaving, so that one is.
Well, you know what? Those first, what do you have? You have Sabbath, Paranoid, Reality 4, and Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. 5 straight masterpieces. Okay,
What?
5 straight masterpieces. That's almost impossible by 90% of the very popular bands out.
Let's explore this comment by Pickling of the Cat for a minute here. Ian Anderson chose Martin Barry to replace Mick Abramson on guitar for Jethro Tull instead of Tony Iommi. So he decided to create his own band, Black Sabbath. Now, okay, so now my understanding my understanding of that, having read Geezer Butler's Into the Void, was they were having a hard time getting started, and they had met Ian Anderson. The Black Sabbath guys were having a hard time getting any traction. They met Ian Anderson. He said, "Let me give you guys a tip. All of these clubs around here are booking shows. We're playing at all of them, and all these other bands are playing at all of them. And what you need to do is just show up at these places because." Sometimes these bands don't show up, and you say, "Hey, we're ready to play." They'll call you up to play. So this was actually happening for them. They were starting to get some lucky breaks this way. And so one time they opened for Jethro Tull in a club. And when Jethro Tull came out, he became transfixed on Iommi, walked straight over in front of Iommi at the front of the stage and just stared at him playing. And Geezer was there playing his bass. And he thought to himself, "Oh, no, this is not good. We're finally getting a little bit of notice. And this guy's going to steal, Ian Anderson's going to steal the leader of our band, our guitar player. This is not good." So the concert's over, and Ian says, "Why don't you come and audition for my band?" And, Iommi was excited about that. "Well, sure. Yeah, sure." So Geezer says, Hey, brother, you want some company? I'll travel up there with you to audition." So Geezer went with him. And Ian liked Iommi, and so it looked like Iommi was getting ready to leave on tour to the United States with Jethro Tull. And all of a sudden, he comes back to town. He goes, "I quit." Even his mother was pissed off at him because he was going to get paid very, very well, like money like he'd never made before trying to play. And no one could believe he quit. And so anyway, Geezer Butler, the bass player, asked him, "Well, why did you quit?" He goes, "Nobody tells me how to play." And Ian wanted to tell me how to play. I don't put up with that. So anyway, Piccolino, that's the story I got, what happened there.
Ian Anderson, a control freak?
At least we've got the Rock and Roll Circus clips as proof.
Hey, all those flute players are the same.
See what happens when you let traditional instruments into rock and roll.
Yeah, right.
No, he's a genius. I'm a major Ian Anderson fan. Jethro Tull's one of my favorite bands too. We could do a whole show on them. They're wonderful.
I know.
In
fact, we should. I love them. I saw Jethro Tull in concert in 1972 in Las Vegas, where I was living at the time, at what was called the Ice Palace. It was actually, of all places, 116 degrees outside. It was an ice skating rink, and he played there, and it was a great show, and he was a sight to behold. I mean, real.
Yeah, I saw them during their Passion Play tour.
Yeah, totally cool.
Yeah, they were great. Major fan.
I've always been a fan. And I've probably got maybe five Jethro Tull albums right now. Julius.
Yeah,
I think
no,
I
you
have the same.
do. Oh man, that yeah, they've done so many wonderful albums over the years. I mean, that's a story into itself. You know.
I mean, let's face it, they won heavy metal album of the year. Oh boy.
Right, right. It was a great
Right?
album, though. It was a great
yes.
album.
Yeah.
I remember watching that on live on TV. I'm like, what the fuck? That's what I said. I let it slip in front of my parents. I'm like, what the fuck? And my mom's going, what the? And I'm like, this, watch the TV.
They didn't even show up to the award show because everybody in the world didn't expect them to win.
Right.
The flute is a heavy metal instrument. Well, at least it's metal.
It is when Ian Anderson's using it, though. If you ever watch some live clips of him, oh my goodness, that would be an awesome show to see back in its prime.
Absolutely amazing.
My cousin said it's the best show he's ever seen, and he's seen Zeppelin twice.
Yeah, Jethro Tull with Martin Barr had elements of heavy metal, but the more traditional elements of Ian's writings overrode that. So, you know.
Okay, so here we have Michael Avatar Noland. No, I'm kidding. Hey, Groovy Lisa. Hey, you want to come up and tell us a couple of, Black Sabbath stories? You're more than welcome to. I'll even put a link up, and I just did. I know you're a Black Sabbath fan.
One thing I kind of wondered about too, with Ozzy's health not being the greatest, and some of the other guys. Have you ever thought about doing a residency? Some place that would work out for everybody to get to logistically and stuff.
Oh God, you had to mention that word.
Sorry, use the R word.
I get it though. That's actually an interesting point.
I mean, Bill says he doesn't want to tour and other stuff. I'm just saying.
You mean an old age residency?
Okay, guys. Okay, I've got to introduce somebody. We've been joined by my dear friend Linda Foster. Her comment is up right now. And do you know that Linda Foster was instrumental in getting me to start a live podcast? At the time, I had my phone on a podcast, and I was unboxing albums and showing them. I'm going to do 4 Rod Stewarts tonight. Here's number 1. Here's number 2. And Linda said, you know what? I got a group of friends, and you know them too. And these were all very smart guys when it came to music, all huge Kiss fans, but they didn't just love Kiss. They loved everything. They all had massive collections, and they were a lot of fun. And we got together, and we had a show that must have lasted at least a year and a half. Then Michael McVeigh started a new rock band. His old band had closed down during the pandemic, and he was opening for a lot of really big acts too. His band was. He's in the Texas area. And then everybody kind of had something to go do. I mean, Jason Herndon not only worked at a record manufacturing plant, he had his own boutique record manufacturing plant. It was doing all this specialty stuff, these box sets for like Mark Slaughter and the group Slaughter. And anyway, so we had a fun time, but Linda is the one that proposed that to me, because I was the one out of all these guys that had a show. She goes, why don't you consider taking these guys under your wing or go under their wing and bring them on your show and have a live podcast? And you know what? That's exactly what I did. So thank you very much, Linda. Everybody say hi to my friend Linda Foster.
Hi, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, Linda.
Okay. Thanks, Linda. Good. I'm really, really happy to see you here.
Yeah, backtracking just a little bit. Michael had mentioned Uriah Heep, and it kind of ties in with Black Sabbath. The first 2 Ozzy solo albums, Lee Kerslake played drums on that.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, cool.
You didn't know that? Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I was amazed. I love Black Sabbath. The very first record I ever bought with my very first paycheck was Diary of a Madman. And as much as I love Sabbath, I put that thing on.
Awesome
when the drums hit, I was just like, oh, man.
Yep.
It's just
I remember everybody had that album.
Yeah.
God, everybody talks about, Frampton Comes Alive. That was an album kind of like that one. Everybody.
Well, I actually have 2 copies of Diary of a Madman. The first one came with a group of 22 albums that was in a flooded storage unit. And so it's got a little water damage along the bottom, but the vinyl is pristine. And the second one was just a new one I bought. I think it's in colored vinyl, blue something, you know. Anyway, so that's a great album. Yeah, I've got, like I said, 2 copies of it. I have at least as many solo albums by Ozzy as I do Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
You guys mentioning Sabbath, like for a lot of bands that have concert albums out and whatever, Sabbath doesn't have a whole lot. And you were talking about the reunion album, Royce.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one that I think is probably, for some of the songs, better than the reunion album.
Okay.
It was just reissued in 2016. It's The Past Lives. It's
Wow.
Like it's got pictures of the band in it.
Wow.
I love the cover, dude. Yeah.
And then inside it's got other pictures. But it's there's tracks on it. It's almost it's a compilation of the early 70s stuff. Like Tomorrow's Dream, Killing Yourself to Live What They Don't Normally Play, Snowblind, Cornucopia, War Pigs, Wicked World, Symptom of the Universe, Iron Man, Black Sabbath, NIB. It's all on here.
You know the crazy thing about what this comment I have up from Jersey Devil about Coca-Cola Company in the liner notes on Volume 4 album, and they didn't mean soda. You know, when I was 18 years old, I moved to California, to Long Beach, California, and I had all my friends from Las Vegas would drive down to party every weekend and other things. But anyway, so my parents came to visit me, see if I was getting in as much trouble as I was back home. So I didn't even think about it, but on the back of the front door facing in the regular Coca-Cola script, it said things go better with Coke. but it also wasn't Coca-Cola. And I see my dad looking at the door, and I look up, and it's got that sound.
Yeah.
Except, goes, yeah, I like your poster, Royce.
Yeah. Except that it's not they don't actually say Coca-Cola, they say Coke. Coke.
Okay.
You know, kind of go along with the Snowblind apps. So
the things we did in our youth, let me tell you.
Well, you know, it's interesting because we talked about that earlier, Chris, that Coke had become a problem right around the beginning of, Reality 4, and of course going on into as they approached their recording of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. And they loved their experience in LA recording the previous album there. And so their plan was to go there. They went down there. They stayed a few weeks or a couple of months, I forget how long. And they just couldn't, because they enjoyed the studio, but the very room that they had recorded in had been taken up by a giant room-size compute synthesizer. All right, which is the same synthesizer that Stevie Wonder used, and it is the world's largest instrument. You walk into it and play it, right? So that kind of put them off. They're in the Hollywood Hills. That kind of put them off. So they all went to a castle, all right? And they started writing all their songs and stuff in this damned castle, spooking the shit out of each other. All right. And they said it was the scariest. Poor Bill Ward was because they weren't sure. They were all kind of playing practical scary jokes. But Bill Ward once said that he was afraid that if he lied down in his bed, he went to bed with a dagger because he thought that he expected one of the old knights in armors to come walking up and behead him or something like that, right? But see, it got the creative dark juices going again, right? And so
right.
There's another example. We talked about how Led Zeppelin would do this. Take time off. This isn't working. Let's try another way. And I don't think I'm alone. A lot of people would name Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath as their matter of fact. I did a set of polls, and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath was one of the winners, if not the winner. I'd have to go back and check on that. So, but think of that. You know, what a wonderful rock story. First of all, there's a whole story involved. You know, that's like Deep Purple's Machine Head. You know, there's a whole story around the album.
Yeah,
well, there's a whole story.
Watching it from across the water burn.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, this was the first time. This was the first time they just, you know, their first couple albums, they took what they could get. All right. The second album, they got an hour and a half more to record it. You know, more than that, but you know, hardly at all. That third album, they got some time, right? And then the fourth album, ooh, now we've got real time. Oh, everybody, critics love us and everything. And they got into the machine, and the machine hit them right smack in the face. And they did a double take, did a 180, got their asses back. I guess it was, maybe it was Germany, but I was under the impression it was England. It was a castle somewhere. Anyway, and created the energy. Tony Iommi said that when he was in California, he couldn't come up with any riffs. Nobody in the band could come up with anything. And then when they got there, he said the ideas just started flooding, the emotive ideas, you know.
Wow. That's wild. Okay, so anybody else have any Black Sabbath they want to bring up? Any Black Sabbath, you know, stories or points of interest? Or
I put a link in there, the YouTube link you showed earlier, because when I saw Black Sabbath, it was Tony Iommi's birthday, and Ozzy Osbourne got the whole Palace of Auburn Hills singing happy birthday to him. I put the link in the chat. It's a video. And you can see his wife coming out behind him with a cake, and he turned around, noticed that between everybody singing,
right?
And he just started crying right on stage. You ever see Black Sabbath member cry on stage? Well, I have.
That's cool.
Well, I'm not gonna say anymore, but I'm gonna do a show this week. It's gonna be a pre-recorded, you know, maybe 8-10 minutes long, and it's about some very famous people, and they're all crying. And that enough said on that. Angelo, hey Angelo, it's been a long time, brother. How you been?
Angelo Lucetta, where have you been?
Angelo, man, Angelo's a great guy, really a great guy. Really, always enjoyed him coming on. Pardon me. Oh yeah, gosh darn it, I shouldn't even do that if I can't make.
Well, welcome back
in a timely manner. Yeah, Angelo, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah. We've had some great response from the Peanut Gallery tonight.
Oh yeah, man! I love the chat here. You know,
I'm thinking, you know, I'd love to go to a Sabbath concert, but at 67, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can handle pot, the smoke that's going around. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that anymore.
You can do it, Johnny. You can do it.
I don't know, man. I'm delirious.
The guys on stage are a decade older than you. They can do it. Come on now.
Well, they're probably used to it. I tried it once when I was 17, 18, but that was
right?
Jesus, Johnny, you're a pup.
I know,
Good Lord. You're just a youngster.
You were a very late bloomer, let me tell you.
Yeah, I tell you. I mean, you're just a youngin'. Yeah. I don't understand what's wrong with you, Johnny. I mean, why? What? You're acting like your dad. That shouldn't be upset.
Yeah, I know. I just
why do I see you with a shawl and a scarf?
Listen,
I'll be 70 on my next birthday, so I ain't dead yet, brother. I ain't dead.
Listen,
yeah.
My daughter, the Evanescence, is coming to London in October. My daughter likes Evanescence. She's always wanted to go see them. So she got us to get tickets. So obviously we're going to go with her. And I'm telling you, I don't know whether I'm going to make it out or not, because it's I think it's a Hellstorm or something like that's going to be opening for them or something like that.
Oh, they're good too.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what did I get myself into? It's like, but that's going to be a real treat in October when we go see them.
Yeah.
It should be a good show, but not too radical. So you should be all right.
Well, next time, Royce, if I come on, you'll be like, hey, I'm a doo-wop guy, so it's like I do like that kind of the Stones and stuff too. But I mean, my ticker won't be able to handle this kind of.
Well, I tell you, I'm glad I started as young as I did and got so much of it out of my system very, very early.
You can make them small.
Johnny will call out from the audience saying, "When does Frankie Valli come on?"
I was right. I'll be going to get the defibrillator.
I was 15 years old, and I always talk about my older brother. He bought me that Blind Faith album for my 16th birthday. We were just talking about that the other night. But anyway, so my older brother comes out, and he bought a new car, and he wants to take me for a ride in it. It's just some little Nissan, but I think they'd bought the Mercedes engine, and he was hot rodding around town because everybody had a stick shift back then. I'm 15 years old, and we're driving around, and we're talking, and he's showing me what it can do, and he finally says, "Royce, do you smoke pot?" Well, being 9 years older than me, he was always more like a parent, And I was like scared to death to say, "Oh yeah, shit all the time." No, I'm like, "Why are you asking me that?" And he goes, "Because I do, and you talk like you do." And so that's when I finally confessed that, yes, I did.
Thanks, Dad.
There's a whole lot more story to that, but I'm going to stop right there, folks.
Everybody should have an understanding father like that, Royce.
That's right. Hey, you know what?
You were
Dave,
raised right,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, it all kind of went down, started to slide a little bit downhill from there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is. I'm not complaining.
When I saw hey, Johnny, just to go to your point, I just thought of something. When I saw Sabbath, I mean, sure, there was weed, but they didn't actually play the song Sweet Leaf. So maybe they're trying to cater to you.
Maybe.
But
that's a really good
point. Actually play that song.
I'm surprised they didn't play that really.
That's got to be just the best intro to an album,
Yeah.
Well, that or the MC5.
Oh, talk about just hitting you right in the freaking face,
Hey, God, Paul, I want to say something, Paul. You had a really good show last night.
Well, thank you.
Very enjoyable. Melody playing the guitar, and Beetle Babe, she's always entertaining. And who's the other guy? Donnelly?
Yeah,
David Donnelly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. He seemed like a
musician.
Real good
He's a good musician, David Donnelly.
Yeah, I haven't been around on too many of the shows lately. I'm going to start trying to do more. I've seen him a couple of times on Rachel, but I haven't been on that show in a long time now. And I don't know. I'm just I've been kind of quiet, trying to avoid politics is the best I can.
Well, we won't be doing that at my channel. We do not do politics or religion.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Paul. That's one thing.
Same here.
Up on your stream. Nobody's convincing anybody any direction anyway. It's a waste of my time as far as I'm concerned.
Unless they're Terry Draper imposters, then so help us.
Yeah, I saw that last night.
I'm not speaking against being political or going out and vote. Go ahead and vote your conscience. But you know what? This isn't the place to, in my opinion, to air out our differences. This is a place to celebrate our similarities, our love of classic rock and roll, folks,
and relax. And
it's just too divided, like nothing I've ever seen before. Right now,
it's very polarizing.
Very polarizing to the max. I've never seen anything like this, to be honest with you.
Gentlemen, I hate to do this to you. I got to get up early for work.
Okay.
Thank you for having me on. I love
Paul,
you guys. Have
always
a
nice.
Have a great day and a great week.
Yeah, Paul.
Thank
Take care.
You too, buddy.
Yeah, we love you too, brother. Damn.
Yeah,
So
it's nice to take a break from all this nonsense that's going on now, you know, and have a this format I like as well because it's relaxing. Just like Paul's, I've been on Paul's a couple of times. It's really relaxing. It's like you know, nothing against because I love you know, Rachel and Sue a lot. So but the politics kind of takes the air out of the room, you know. It's like
it's not always a real friendly conversation too.
Yeah, when it comes to politics, it's like
man.
Well, I don't begrudge Rachel. Rachel's show is exactly what Rachel wants her show to be, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine.
Nothing whatsoever.
And all of that. I prefer her more record oriented, but you know what? The woman is incredibly smart.
Oh,
all right. And she knows her stuff. And some of her panelists know their stuff.
Well,
others don't.
When they get a good panelist up there like Johnny L, you know, it's like
you know.
I heard
of that guy once or twice.
And there's a reason why, you know, in our little quadrant of the universe, nobody outdraws her, you know, so she must be doing something right.
Good night, Linda. Linda Foster. Good night. Thank you for showing up.
Good night, Linda.
You know, Michael, that's a really good point. You know, because you know, for me, it's almost always just been the vinyl community. Now, having said that, my first shows, I was making videos on my construction sites. And then that evolved into, you know, tours of famous places where I was going places and talking about where I was and filming it. Okay.
Yeah.
And they were usually short, 10 or 12 minutes or something. A really long one would be 20 minutes. And then I started doing those little vinyl album unboxings here in my office. Like I said, tripod with the cell phone on it. really bad picture, to be honest with you. And I probably made a couple of dozen of those like that until before Linda came along and suggested I invite these guys in and we step it up a little bit. And that's what we did. So but most of my experience over the last going on 3 years has just been the vinyl community. And sometimes you venture out and it's like, wow, there's a whole nother world out here. Like going on that Sarah show, the Raging Tomato.
Even that is I don't know.
No. I hear you. You know, enough said.
Well, I know Rachel loves Sarah. I'm more you know, I don't participate but I still watch her show, right? Like I said, first of all, Rachel is very knowledgeable as far as music goes, and especially classic rock. All right, she's more knowledgeable than I am in her areas of expertise, and she has a whole lot to say. All right, so that's the first thing you need to understand about what's going on over there. All right, so I like it when it's like that, but I just don't get in. I can't. I have my own political bent. The ones that who wouldn't agree with me make me enraged when I watch the show. There's people start opening their mouth. I just start fast forwarding because it's the same old claptrap, you know. But you know, I love Rob, and Rob and I probably wouldn't agree on a political.
The wax. I like Rob a lot too.
But I get him. I get Rob. You know, And as long as Rachel and Rob are there, you've got a great show. You know, you've just got a great show. I would prefer that we weren't even talking about this. I would prefer that we were still talking about Black Sabbath. You know, but since it did come up, my kudos to Rachel. I've always supported her, and I think she does a fine job. I think she provides quality content, and she knows what she's doing. So,
well, Michael, not only that, Rachel has really helped everybody build their shows.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went on the
Yes,
very first time I ever went to Rachel's show and got up on the panel. I went when the show was all over with, and I went back to my channel and I clicked to check if my subscribers had grown by one, this week. My subscribers had grown by 25 from that one visit to Rachel's show. And there are other times I'm doing a show and all of a sudden here comes all these people. Rachel was doing a show and she said, "Come on, everybody, follow me over to Royce's channel." Right. And all of a sudden Texas Vinyl, audio was there, David and Novice Nick, they were all part of my panel along with Rachel. And I had like 75 people there that I never, didn't even know really. I mean, they were just Royce. So she's done some super cool things. Go ahead, John.
Royce, the reason why I'm on your show and the reason why I like Michael and I listen to Michael is because of Rachel. She mentioned you. Go watch you, and I really enjoyed going and watching you.
Rachel has always supported me. I appreciate that. Yeah.
And Michael, she mentioned Michael, and I really enjoyed watching Michael.
Right. And she did a shout out on me when when Alex Dickey showed up on her show. I think it was the very next day after one of Patrick's auctions. And the day of the auction on Rachel's show, Alex went off on Patrick and even accused him of colluding with a couple of the bidders over there. Now, I had bid many times against these bidders, and I've done business with Patrick for, the better part of this year. Okay. And he's honest as the day is long, as far as I could ever tell, knowing a person and how they've done business with me.
Michael, I agree completely.
And I hear that this is Alex's shtick. All right. And Patrick, that day of this auction, even said that about Alex, said, yeah, that's just his shtick. But the thing is, I don't buy that. I think he's a little shit disturber. I always have. All right. I don't appreciate him. He's always trying to create new rules and regulations for us all to follow. One time, in one conversation, he was saying, instead of having all these auctions, maybe we should form a co-op or something. He had some sort of nonsense thing on it and was saying something about that. So I wasn't that day during the auction. I had my eye on a couple of little gems out there, and you know me, Royce. So I was the first one to chime in, and I said, I just hope Alex Dickey keeps his word and stays the hell out of this auction or something like that. Right. I took a screenshot of it, so I could read it to you someday. But here's what happened. The next day, and Alex got up there, and I kept just beating on him because I didn't think he had done Patrick a fair service. Now, evidently, I am so stupid that I can't tell shtick. Bull freaking shit if I can't spot shtick. This guy hides behind his shtick and is just a little shit disturber. And so I said that, and so he came on and he goes, I don't even know who this guy is, but boy, he didn't like me being on there. And that's when Rachel said, well, no, actually, and she had nothing but nice things to say for my channel. Now, the fact that Alex is there is a genius move, though, but it's by Rachel. Alex is, I think she gives him way too much credit. It's Rachel. That woman thinks 1,000 million miles an hour. I'm a fast thinker. I know a fast thinker when I see one. All right. And you can see her think when you watch her, you know, the way she'll avert her eyes while somebody's ranting on or something, and then she'll up, and then she lifts that head, right? You know, you watch somebody long enough, you kind of get a few tells. And if you don't think that Rachel Williams isn't like one of the smartest content creators in our quadrant, then you're missing something. You know
what, Michael?
That's just all there is to it.
Michael, you brought up Patrick. I went to 2 of his auctions, bought some records, both auctions, and no problems. The records were great, delivered great, and also Patrick also gives away albums when he has his giveaways. Don't forget, I got so many albums, not also that free from Patrick. As long as I paid the shipping, but that's no problem. And the records weren't crap. They were pretty good records.
Stuff. Yeah, that's really cool.
He gave out records too. So,
well, and part of his criticism was that the one album that went for $100 that day, he says it wasn't worth it, blah, blah, blah. And everybody on Rachel's panel corrected him and said, oh, no, actually, that's a fair price for that record.
Very trustworthy.
And so I don't like it. And if it's a joke, I'm not getting Andy Kaufman Jr. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm just too dense to keep up. You know, I'm gonna be 70. Did I mention that earlier? On my next birthday. Maybe I'm just too old to get it, Alex. Maybe you're just too hip and cool for me.
I love this comment by the Music Sanctuary. He actually came by my show by way of that first time I went up on Rachel's panel. I think that's totally cool.
Yeah.
and Chris Elliott found me through Michael, one of the shows you make of our show the next day, and put them out there.
Yeah,
those are great. Yeah.
I know. The be all end all is Rachel's got a great show. I support it. That's the end of it. I don't have to like everybody up there. I don't have to like every thing that's going on. You know, sometimes I see it when she first logs in. Sometimes I have to start it an hour after she signs off. Sometimes I do a run through to catch up. You know, but I'm out there lurking. I don't check in because I don't like the dialogue for me. It gets my blood boiling. I don't want to put myself in any kind of communication on that level. I've got my own thoughts politically. I've done a lot of deep thinking about where I am politically, but that's my business. You know what I'm saying? And so, but I love her show. I love her show, and I love it when it's vinyl centric a whole lot, you know. But you know what? She's the first one to tell you it's my fucking show. You know, I'll do what I fucking want. You know, in her best Christopher Walken. You know, and more power to the blessed angel, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Hey, Michael, look at this comment of Dr. Ricks here. I know I mentioned this to you before, but to get it out to the peanut gallery. Hey, Michael, your Sunday night live strip, one of the highlights of my week. Thanks for your hard work and effort.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, very nice. Thanks, Dr.
All the children coming to visit us at the home. I love it.
You know, I want to give a couple of new shout outs here. Ricefield Records is here, and I haven't seen you in a while, brother. Thanks a lot for showing up.
Hi, Michael. How you doing, buddy?
Once again, Frank James and the Music
I hear not a lot of people want to piss you off either.
Piccolina. We have a lot of guests here. We have some guests that we haven't seen in a while, and we really appreciate seeing you back here because we love y'all. We want you to come every week. But anyway, we're going to be putting out a lot more content. Anyway,
I always, it seems like for the last month or so, I've been missing this station, like missing the show. Like I don't know, must be
it
the
happens,
noggin, you know. Thinking,
yeah.
Well, you're always
it
welcome,
happens.
Johnny.
Yeah, you know that.
Well, last what was it, 3 weeks ago or something, we lost our dog, so that kind of.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, Maggie was 16 and 16 years 6 months, and she passed away on the couch in her sleep. So she's now sitting on her mantle, So we
our little
you know.
I really feel for you. We lost a couple back to back. One of an enlarged heart that was only 8 years old. Then our Sammy was 17. But
like
we got our little honey dog. You know, little white furry, mostly poodle Maltese mix. And she's 17 now, and she can still jump up on the couch.
Oh, really?
She'll go chase her toy until she gets exhausted, especially in this heat.
Yeah, we lost our Savannah. She was 17 too.
Yeah.
You know, just 2 years ago. So
I almost can't even imagine life without her, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, Maggie lost her. First started losing her function in her right leg, and so she couldn't stand on her hind legs too long. Then her other leg started to go weak, and then she couldn't control her bowels. We had to carry her outside to go to the bathroom, and then she started not eating. Right, so we started trying to make her as comfortable as possible. But the good thing is she passed away in our house, us petting her and stuff like that, and the vet came the next day and took her, and now she's sitting on her mantle with flowers and stuff like that.
Yeah, our Savannah, she drew her last breath with all three of us around her and petting her, and she was family. She was family. 17 years old, golden retriever, no less. Yeah.
Well, I want to give my buddy David Hopfrog a shout out. Looks like his subscribers on his show are growing, and Piccolina just hit him up.
Yeah,
and this is like a family here. You know, everybody supports everybody.
I'm really comfortable. You know, I have to say that I really, really, really am comfortable coming here because I'm not a debater. Really, I get lost in the debate. I can't debate for shit, right? And as far as records, you guys know a lot way more than I ever would, right? But at least I tried to put in as much stuff that I can, knowledge of whatever I have,
we totally enjoy
Johnny. You're a good color man. You're a good color man. You know what I'm saying? You add flavor to the podcast. So seriously.
I love to have you. It's Well,
there's a reason why Rachel has you up.
Right.
Right. You've got that certain something, Johnny. I'm getting all jiggly thinking about it.
The thing is, though, is I don't, and Rachel's told me that you do have things to offer, but I've always felt that especially on her show, a lot more people know way more, like in jazz and everything else, than I ever do, and so I can't hold conversation against a lot of them because I don't know. Like sometimes they'll bring up singers or groups, and it's like, who the fuck are they? I've never heard of them before, right? So if they brought up like the Ventures or Frankie Valli or the Nutmegs, which is like an old group, stuff like that, I would know. But some of the groups, I don't know where the hell I was back then because I never heard of these groups before, and
right.
So it seems I feel like I don't have much to offer, but I do what I can, right?
Well, they cover a wide variety of music on Rachel's. First of all, you have the jazz element, of which I know nothing about. And you have your classic rock aficionados, and then you have your more esoteric stick up your bum people up there.
Sorry about that.
He has a habit of doing that, Johnny.
He wants to see my ugly mug.
No, don't put me up. Let's just have a conversation with all of us.
Okay, let's have a conversation. Okay.
But you know what I'm saying is everybody has their strengths, and you play to your strengths. I don't do jazz videos because I don't know anything about jazz other than I like it live, and I've not really looked into it other than that my closest love of jazz really is Steely Dan. All right. To be honest with you, Return to Forever, maybe, sort of jazzy. But that's about as jazz, pop jazz bores the shit out of me. Chuck Mangione is full of baloney. Never liked him. Not the first second I heard him. We used to turn the TV down and make rude sounds about it. Okay, I'm stealing a line from A Hard Day's Night. But anyway,
Johnny, I just want you to know that I don't know. You bring like a comfort level to the show. You're just such an even-tempered, mellow guy, and even the sound of your voice is like soothing. And
you're like let me do my best, Rachel. Okay. Johnny, you're like a finely baked potato. Have I told the audience how much I like potatoes? No, but I'm serious.
That's pretty good.
You're down home cooking, listen, Johnny. That's okay with me, man.
Down home cooking, I like that.
I'm getting old. How about an old wrinkly prune?
No, I'm probably the oldest one on the panel, but guys, I think I haven't had to scroll the chat for a while. I think we've been here too long now. And so anyway, I want to thank the chat. Love each and every one of you. Love all you guys on the panel here tonight. This has been great. Let's keep this going. I'm having fun with it. We're going to keep digging for more shows, bigger and better shows, funner shows. Let's have fun with the whole thing. And we're going to sign off now. And thank you all again. And that's what's happening in Royce's world tonight. Thank you so much, guys.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Hasta la vista.
Yeah.
Awesome.